my name is Kiranbir Sethi. I'm a designer by profession. I mean, I graduated as a designer. So I think a lot of my work that has happened I attribute a lot to what I call the design mindset. The idea that work has to be human-centered. Design thinking gives you optimism that things can be better. And it's hugely collaborative, that you don't do this alone. So in the course of the work I've done since graduating from the design college, subsequently started a school, which is essentially how do you get all children to have this, what I call the I can mindset, right? And part of this journey led us to start something called Design for Change in 2009. Taking what we learned as insights from just the school and then saying, how do you take this and offer it to the world? So in 2009, we kind of demystified design thinking, which till then sounded like more jargon and more out of reach, and simplified the process to say that every child is essentially born a social entrepreneur. I just feel that every child is born with what we say, I can. And then we send them to school and mess them up for life. So how do you keep that alive? So we said, is there kind of a framework or kind of like a formula that one can design? That you can intentionally cultivate this and not leave it to chance. So 2009 was the year when we put this to test and we said, okay, let's try this out. So we created a simple framework: feel, imagine, do, and share. We call it FIDS for kids. Simple 4 steps, and said, okay, let's send it out and let's see when children are able to use empathy to look at the world around them, then use imagination to decide what can be a better, more preferred scenario, action it rather than just leave it as an imaginative, if the world were better, if the world in 2020 was better, put into action, and then share. The key component, which I will talk to you about, this share idea. What we realized with the share is that it is tremendous. It builds hope, it inspires, it gives you what I call the abundance mentality, the idea that I am here not to compete with you, but to complete you. That's really what the story is, right? We're not here to compete. And by virtue of the share, it allows for evolution of an idea again, right? You kind of feed back into the loop and start from feel. So in 2009, we sent this idea to 30,000 schools in India. So one of the pieces that we looked in terms of scale was really that it had to blur every kind of boundary of language and demographics and sort of even geography. And we said, a child anywhere in the world is a change maker, right? And so we translated into multiple languages. We ensured that the material was so easy that it didn't need any kind of personal contact to do training. Again, we had to remove all the resistance that would make an idea stick or not, right? So we understood that resistance comes from if an idea is too complicated, too self-congratulatory, too or it's all about the bureaucracy of an idea. We said, let's remove all of that and then see what happens with the idea. So that was a very important learning, that once you remove everything that, oh, this is how you do it, but this is why you need to do it, suddenly you find more buyers to the idea, because suddenly it doesn't have to be like, oh, you're telling me how to do it. You're telling me why this is important. You're telling me that children are not the future, but they're the now. I understand that idea, right? And therefore I buy into that vision and that dream, rather than saying, no, this is not how you do it. This is how you do it. This is, what needs to be done. So I think those were the insights we had year one. And when you remove, another thing that we also realized in year one was we made it flexible and extremely versatile. We said children will decide what they need to change, right? Again, we removed anything that suggested it was a self-serving purpose, right? Oh, we will solve water issues, or we will solve garbage. No, we had no agenda. So I think the fact that there was no agenda was another reason why the idea stuck. So it was not about Riverside anymore. It was not about serving a particular political agenda or a religious agenda. There was no agenda. This was saying, listen to your child. That's it. That was the only story that we were offering. We were saying, if you can listen, you will be amazed, right? And that's the piece that we were shifting. So if you ask me in all fairness, in 2009, I didn't know that it will go global. There were no plans. I mean, some people say, you have to have a 5-year plan. Man, I don't even have a tomorrow plan sometimes. I keep thinking sometimes plans are extremely limiting, because if you said, okay, in 5 years I'll be in 10 countries, you have no idea how quick or how slow an idea can be, right? So you don't have to force an idea to work. So I think a big piece of why Design for Change went was also because of the TED, the opportunity to speak on TED. So in 2009, I think the TED Talk, when it went live in 2010, Jan. I remember I spoke on TED in 2009, November. The talk went live on Jan 13th, 2010. And I was inundated that day. I'm not a Facebook person. I suddenly got some 500 Facebook requests. I said, what the hell who are these people? I don't even know them. And then I suddenly realized, my God, there was something powerful that was happening here. And then I think the biggest reason, I still attribute the reason why Design for Change then flew, was because we let it go. We said it's your story, so we let it free, open source, downloadable, and the piece that I believe we did extremely well, and I would recommend that to anybody who wants to have an idea that they believe should travel, your return to an inquiry or a response. Our response time was fantastic. The idea that if you've shown interest in my work, I want you to be interested in my work. If I start delaying the response and say, okay, a week later, that's what happens with most organizations. The bureaucracy takes over the idea. And then there's a certain protocol, and then there will be somebody who will answer mails and somebody else who will respond to it. We just said, remove all of that. Our response time was immediate. So I remember the first 2 years, man, I was putting reminders in my phone to wake up at 2 in the morning because I had to speak to Peru as a Skype. People would speak to me from Peru, and I had to say, okay, so I'll be waking up at 2 in the morning to talk to Peru. And so the first 2 years was a very intensive sort of investment from me personally. Because I think in many ways, and I think this is just the idea of the aura of what happens when you have somebody on TED, you kind of wonder that if you write to them, will they speak to you? And imagine if they do. Because, oh my God, okay, I've spoken to Philip Zimbardo or Hans Rosling, or I'm thinking, and then that engages you and you want to do it more. So I think maybe the first inquiries were responded by me. So I think that connection was built, a very human connect to say, the so-called person who's founded the idea was responding. So I think that was an important piece. Of course, now it's more like a piece that, again, there's a 3-member team. It's not very large. It's not bureaucratic at all. So I guess that's the learning. Response time. Keep it free. Don't own it. Keep talking about the why, not the how and the what. And I think that was another key thing. So what has happened is, in every country, innovation has happened. Every country has taken the 4 pieces because fundamentally it makes sense that children should all believe that they can make the world a better place today. And with that, the context has come alive. We're very mindful that when a partner in, say, Taiwan versus a partner in South Africa versus a partner in Peru would say, our context will determine shaping and reshaping the stuff. And we'd like to do that. The complete response is, of course you have to. It's your story. And so the ownership was constantly handed over. So it is not, no, you have to take permission. No, you have to ask us first. No, you have to do this. So we kind of remove the idea of taking permission. If you have to do something good, you don't need permission. Right? And giving that confidence to even the partners. So I think these are the learnings of. I think now it's 7 years, right? In 7 years, we've got Design for Changes in over 40 countries. Have all been successful, or have all told a strong story? Actually, they all have. Yeah, have they all stayed with the idea? No, because sometimes it has just been the ability to have the resources to do it. If a person, I remember in Sri Lanka, we had a partner who was just one teacher in the school. and got very excited, thought that they could do the larger story, but then realized that they didn't have the manpower or the resources, and fine, then it just became a story in one school, right? So, and that doesn't mean the quality went wrong. So that's, having said that, I think I've just been absolutely, grateful is of course the biggest word, but humbled by how every partner has really made it their own story with deep amount of integrity and respect. And I would like to believe it was because we didn't force it down somebody's throat, right? Design for Change doesn't onboard a partner till the partner wants to be onboarded, right? I think that's what we've done. We've done that when an inquiry comes, then we believe that that's the first sign of intent. And I think that intent then should be interest and then should be passion, right? So it's our responsibility to take that intent that you've shown and keep it strong. So I think it's a lot of the work that we do with Skype and mentoring and maybe connecting them with a partner. Like for instance, I remember when Macau and Hong Kong wanted to start, we got them mentored with my Taiwanese partner. So it doesn't have to become our story. So Taiwan became the story that mentored them. When Peru and Nicaragua started, we had Spain mentoring. So what happened was we started realizing that there were different people with different skills, and it doesn't have to be just ours. I think that's another important thing, that when you really offset and believe and have faith, people will live up to the faith. And that's what's happened with different partners who are mentoring each other, having their own sort of regional celebrations and regional stories. So that has kept the spirit alive. So I think maybe that's the learning, yeah. I think it's reached here because of collective, the power of that, the recognition that one person doesn't do any of this. I think if I had to only share insights, it's really the humility of the practice that will lend the soul to the practice. And I think somewhere this whole idea of, I would advise, don't be scared, because fearfulness makes you hold on. And I think if the idea is created to change some situation for the better, it has to go. I mean, it's just such simple common sense. Let it fly. Continue to do the work to create the roots, because that's where you are and you have to make it strong. So you work on the depth and let the width come from the collective spirit.